I wanted Paola to join at least for the hello session and just to say a few words. And then she will go with the kids in the field because there are animals and many things that need to be followed. So maybe you want to start?
No, I just want to say thank you because it's always nice when someone listens to experience of someone else, and to be invited is always something that help the motivation of what we're doing, which is hard. But it's nice to see that there is a huge movement of people doing stuff, and I hope you will enjoy. Matteo is very good in explaining and teaching and so on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice session. I go to
Thank you, Paola. Thank you. Ciao.
Hello to everybody. First, I would like to apologize for my English. I didn't study it at school, so I learned it by studying on books, agricultural books. So if you don't understand something, maybe you can write on the chat, and then Tobias or Manuel, they can maybe stop me and I can explain more, or maybe after in the question and answer session I can explain in a better way. So sorry if you will not understand everything I say. I'll try to do my best. I think just few words about maybe Tobias already said it in German, but I didn't get it. We are basically we started here 5 years ago. Me and Paola, which is my partner. During these 5 years, we had two children. So we started the farm. We had 2 children. We moved house for 3 times, and then apart from the farming, I've been keeping on consulting and giving education on regenerative farming and agroecology, and also building some market gardening tools, broad forks, and like that, in order to fund the farm expenses and the investments. My background, I basically always loved nature, and what can I say? Since a very young age, I was looking at John Seymour's book on self-sufficiency, not loving to go to school. I loved to stay in the forests, to go in the mountains. And finally, I started when I was 14, an agricultural high school, a quite good one. In Italy, I don't know how it's in Germany, but in Italy, we have specific schools based on what you want to study. And so we had a school farm with all sorts of systems, very good soil labs, like the second best soil lab in the region. And basically, I grew up studying conventional agriculture, surrounded by conventional farmers, or actually the sons and daughters of conventional farmers. But I was always liking the ecology, the organic, and already permaculture at a quite young age. And then I just finished my studies, and I like 5 years agricultural studies. And then I left with a bicycle, and I went all around Europe, North Africa. I went in different countries all around the world, keeping on studying, going to visit and working for those people I was reading the books of. And I kept on going to courses, running consultancies. So for many years, I've been around studying ecologies of different climates, farming in different climates, on different soils, in different cultures. And then I came back to Italy, where we started the farm on the Lake Garda Lake, with some friends. And then I met Paola. After a few years, I was farming on the Lake Garda, and then Paola was just purchasing, was just buying this piece of land on Lake Iseo, which is the nearby lake, but smaller one. And then we started this adventure. Basically, I start the presentation by saying that Iside, the name of the farm is it means the god Isis, because Lake Iseo it means the temple of Isis. But in the past, during Roman times, it seems that the name of the lake it was actually Isis, which is the goddess of the fertility so it was a good connection with the landscape and the history of the place. Do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So as you see in our farm logo, we have three elements, which is a vegetable, an onion, a tree, a fruit tree, or any tree, and then an animal, in this case, a cow. The logo already says a lot about what is what our farm is going to be. Is going to be a farm with annual, with perennial crops and animals. So the final idea is going to be a silvopastoral, agro-silvopastoral system, which is based on agroecology and regenerative practices, in order to create an increasing complex productive system. I don't believe in those ideas of self-managing food forest, self-managing natural agricultural system, but I think that more we get into agroecological complexity, more we have to work, actually. More we have to work, maybe not with our hands, but a lot with our brain, a lot of designing, a lot of looking at the feedbacks, looking at what every single season is telling us. So I remember when I was at David Holmgreen, the co-founder of the permaculture in Australia, he was telling me, look, more our system becomes older, more I have to work. And actually, when I was younger, I was thinking, okay, I create a system that manages itself, and then I will stay on the hammock most of the time, harvesting fruits, like in a sort of paradise idea of farming. But he say more the system is able to photosynthesize, to transform some energy into biomass, into production. What happens is that you have to manage more biomass, you have to manage more insects, you have to manage more animals, you have to manage more biomass in general. Okay, so Iside is a 6-hectare farm where I have a 70-meter altitude difference from the top to the bottom. Is okay. You have this is a Google Earth picture of the first year, of the first year, where you can see these lines and these lines. These are all like the future tree lines, orchard lines, and where we planted the most of the trees of the farm, which we were actually preparing them. Later you will see more in specific how we did that. So the farm is basically surrounded by this forest. There are sort of valleys with water courses which are going, there is a water source in this area which goes around, no, actually goes the whole year around. We have water, and there is another water course here which goes like 9 months during the year. Just between brackets, I need 10 minutes to be able to speak better and to stretch my brain, and then you will understand more of what I'm saying. So this is basically the farm. Do you see the arrow of the mouse?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, perfect. So basically, this is the property. Yeah, 6 hectares. This is the top of the farm, and then goes down with big, medium, and small terraces because it's quite of a slope. At the top, we have around 1,200 meters high mountains. At the bottom, we have a quite big lake. So there is this very big wall. We have on the top of those mountains is dolomite, which the characteristic of dolomite is a karst system, which means lots of caves under the ground. So we have like a big roof on top of our farm, on top of our landscape, that harvests the rain. The rain goes all into these underground caves, underground lakes, and then from those lakes, underground lakes, we get in the whole village, in the whole area, lots of water sources, water springs, which are mostly going the whole year round in the whole area. So it's a quite particular area. We have temperate climate, but going toward Mediterranean climate. We have lots of olive trees. We have around 250 olive trees. Some of them, they are very big and very old. We get from one big tree, we can get 120, 130 kilos of olives. And then there are many others, as you can see here, which are like 15, 20, 30 years old. Still, they produce quite a lot, but not as much as the big ones here. So the idea, I spend a little bit of time on these maps in order to make you understanding a little bit more the context. All around the edges of the farm, the borders of the farm, we are setting out a sort of animal highway, which means a double edge made with thorny, spiky plants, like Gleditsia triacanthus, Hipophea rhamnoide, like sea buckthorn, honey locust, all of these producing fodder trees, and also fruit-bearing shrubs or trees, nitrogen fixing, producing a lot of biomass, stopping erosion. And we are making these alleys where we have these corridors where animal can actually run all around the farm as it was a highway around a city. And then when we need to graze a terrace or a slope or a cropped area after we finish to harvest, we just take the animals and then we put movable nets, fencing net, electric nets, and the animal eats everything in few days or in few hours, and then back to the highway, going to the next area that has to be grazed. We can't really do a continuous grazing of the whole area because we do rotational grazing, like sort of holistic management style, where the animals, they move. Every day we move the animals between 2 and 6 times in order to give them fresh pasture and fresh fodder all the time, and also not to have overgrazing and to stimulate the pasture, because for us they are a very important free source of biomass and free source of energy from the sun. So because the characteristic of our land, which is basically is morainic soil, which was pushed up the mountains by a big glacier of the Valcamonica Valley, we have very particular soils where here we were building in the greenhouse, and in 45 meters length, we found 6 different completely different soils, going from a clay, red clay, finishing with a whitish clay, passing through river sands, completely without organic matter, without clay. So the whole property is like, it has got pockets and strains of soil. So sometimes we get very good pasture in one period, so we have to move the animals there. Sometimes we get very poor pasture in another place, so we have to give time to the pasture to grow back. So it's a quite complex but very exciting property. This picture was taken, I think now 2 years ago. You already see the fruit trees, they grew. This actually was taken by Darren Doherty from Regrarians, that is our friend and my mentor for many years. So he came a couple of times to visit us, and then he took this picture. You can see it's a bit drier moment of the year. We can get very dry, also 3 months more or less without rain. The soil is mainly sandy at the top soil, but then it changes at the bottom. So I start with the presentation and showing you some of the systems that we have developed. They're just examples. They are not recipes I want to give you. It's something that we do in our farm and I will not maybe do in another farm. But our farm wants to be, first of all, a family farm, where we can live outside, we can eat our food, we can basically live a sort of self-sufficient style. Is economical, commercial farm. We have a CSA which goes around between 50 to 80 members. And we basically sell them all the produce that comes from the farm, and you later will see what we produce. And then we have restaurants and we have non-CSA customers. So yeah, we have very good restaurants like Michelin starred restaurants. They're very good. They buy from like conventional vegetables, conventional, I mean, the ones that everybody knows, from very particular wild herbs or particular wild fruits, mushrooms, and so on. So we have a quite diversified farm. We grow now, after 5 years, I think we have around 130, 140 different varieties of fruits, of shrubs, and so on, plus all the vegetables, varieties, and species. So we are basically trying to experiment the most resilient, the most interesting from agronomic point of view, from taste, and from storage point of view, the best apples, the best peaches, the best apricots, and so on. So we at the beginning we start with lots of variety, lots of fruit biodiversity, in order to see those trees that need too many treatments. We will cut them, regraft them, and keep on using the most resistant trees. It's not that we don't like to use to spray the trees, but because we have so many things to do, even just to go with the tractor and to mount the atomizer and the sprayer, it takes time. So we want to try to decrease as much as we can the amount of spray the amount of treatments that we do on our trees, on our shrubs, on our vegetables. It will take a long time. It's a matter of genetic selection of the most appropriate genetics of for our soil, for our climate. Also looking at the climate change, that every year there is a completely different meteorology, different weather patterns. So we are also seeing what crops work well in a wet year, what crops work well in a dry year, and so on. Yeah. So this is a key lane pattern, but we will talk later. We have, because now it seems flat, of course, but we have 70 meters, as I was saying, from here to here, 70 meters in difference in altitude. And the problem is to find a flat spot to produce vegetables. So we don't have a flat spot in the farm. The only one is this greenhouse. These two greenhouses which we were building in 2 years ago. They are not on a flat. They are on a slope. This is gardens on slopes. We have gardens here and there where we can manage to farm more or less on a flatland or on a slight slope. You enter the farm and this is the view. is quite beautiful, is very nice. I start from the main axis. I like to go with elements in order to allow you understanding the way we think, which I imagine is from one point of view is very simple for someone, but from someone else maybe is not. So this main axis from the village, it was an accessible access because it's a very strong slope, and every time that it rained, it was creating erosion, canyons, like destroying the road. So with the car, it was very difficult to actually to drive. So we decided we made a compromise. We say, okay, this is gonna be an access forever, or at least for a few hundreds of years. So we decided to do these two strips of concrete, but we say, okay, this allow us not to stay all the time with an excavator fixing the road, which is destroyed every time that we have a storm, and we are having very big storms in the last few years, something like 60 to 80 millimeters in 1 hour. Storm event is quite a lot, and it really creates big problems. So what we did, we created these two strips of concrete, which allow us to have this permanent access. Here we will building actually the water catchment from the road. From this road, we managed now to harvest 1.5 billion liters of rainwater, which normally was going into the valleys with lots of soil and then into the lake, creating problems of course, eutrophisation and everything you already know about erosion and erosion control, which in our area is a very big problem. I don't know where you are, but in our area, in warm, temperate, and Mediterranean climate, where we have a dry season and the soil tends to be bare in some spot, if it's not well managed, then we really get big problems, losing soil, losing water. So we managed to harvest water, and then this is just a specific, and this is this was the road this summer. We planted alfalfa, which is the king of the herbaceous animal fodder. Is a nitrogen fixing pioneer with very deep tap roots, which explore and go to get the nutrients where other plants don't manage. Plus is a nitrogen fixing plant, makes a symbiosis with rhizobium bacteria, which allows the plant to absorb a lot of nitrogen, which in raw it means to have a very high in protein, very high protein rich plants. So the road, it was like a desert when we arrived, which was destroying car suspensions, and we had to spend a lot of money on fixing it all the time. Now is a water harvesting roof, is an access, and a high quality production of alfalfa. We decided to do two strips in order not to have too much concrete, so just the amount of concrete that is necessary for the biggest truck or tractor to get to our field, and but still to have some green also in the middle. In the middle, of course, the cars, they self prune what is growing here. So in the middle, we have a particular machine. Later you will see the pictures. Is called flail mower harvester, which basically is a machine that shreds hay or the material and harvest it in a container. So we use this strip. We flail mow and harvest this alfalfa and clover, and we take it to some IBC containers, like big tanks, where we add this biomass, we add water, and then we produce fertilizers. Then that then is diluted in irrigation water in order to feed our crops. I have to go a little bit faster. this is another section of the road where we didn't want to use the concrete because the slope is not so steep, but I don't know if you can see the gradient goes toward this newly built stone wall. Behind this stone wall, we were building it, there is a drainage system, so the water goes here and enter under the wall, and also we harvest all of this water. This is a compacted dolomite rock dust stabilizer, which is sort of concrete, but is rock dust. Yep. We also have, as I was telling you previously, a water spring here. We were fixing the system. We were making silt traps in order to stop the huge amount of organic silt and non-organic silt that builds up in the system. So we have a first jump where the water drops his sediment, is silt, and then a second tank. Of course, we take the water from the top, so the silt drops at the bottom, and then we have another tank, and from this tank, these are quite old pictures. Now we have willows growing with roots, like doing phytoremediation and oxygenating the water. And then from here, it gets, for the moment, we use this very cheap second-hand swimming pools. They are very practical, very fast to build, this, for example, is like 11,000 liters. We harvest the water because the spring, it produces around 30,000 liters of water per day, but little by little. And when we need irrigation, we need quite a lot of irrigation at the same time. So we need to harvest it also during the night when we are not using it. So the only problem of this irrigation is connected to the fact that it has got a very high pH. It's very alkaline. We have a 8.6 pH with very active lime, which is a very big problem in farming. Active lime, it destroys the soil from chemical, biological point of view. So what we did, and this was just built, now we have in this water we have fish, we have sweetwater snails and sweetwater crabs, not crabs, but crayfishes, which actually eat the algae that grows in the water and create a whole beautiful balanced system. Actually, we put just the fish, and then water birds, or I don't know how, the snails, they arrive. We have tritons, we have salamanders, we have so many animals in this water. So the animals, by the organic activity, by the feces and their castings, they lower down the pH of the water, which then is also lowered down by the addition of, as I was telling you before, fertilizers that we produce basically with dynamic accumulators plants, and then we make them decomposing in water, and then when they lose their fiber, the fiber decomposes in water, we dilute them, the liquid fertilizer, into this water. This is, of course, we are a very young farm. We don't have structure yet. I put you, I don't know if you can see here, these are the plants we are starting to build the next month. Finally, after 5 years, it was a very long bureaucratic process, but finally the town hall accepted our projects. We are going to build, I don't know if you can understand, this is the soil profile. We are going to build as under the soil with the second-hand shipping containers, which we are going to modify, cut the walls, put them together, and then we found second-hand concrete blocks and second-hand prefabricated concrete roof, which we are going to put under the soil. This first structure is going to be like a a barn for the tractor and all the machineries and the hay. And then in the back, under the soil, we're going to have a mushroom facility, mushroom room, where we are going to produce edible and medicinal mushrooms, which now we are producing in a cellar, but not in the field. Then we are going to have a sort of commercial kitchen where we can make preserve, jams, juices, where we can also in the future kill chickens and so on. And then we have cellars completely under the soil where we can store vegetables, make cider, apple cider, and so on. And this is another farm structure, is just a workshop. Now this is gonna be not like this, the roof, but like this. The town hall allowed us to make ponds, water ponds on the top of the structures. We will have like 7-8 centimeters high water, and in this water we are going to grow something that we already grow, but in containers. Azzola, I don't know if you know what is azzola. Is this floating nitrogen fixing fern, which grows just like so fast and is a very good amendment for the soil. Is used in Southeast Asia in companion planting in rice paddy fields, where it covers the soil, it fixes the nitrogen, and then when they drain the water from the paddies, it goes on the soil, it decomposes, and it releases nitrogen. We will harvest it together with water hyacinth and duckweed and all these beautiful water floating dynamic accumulators, in order to have a cheap roof, because we are going to make a pond with like a pond liner, which is very cheap. We are going to harvest water from it, and the overflow from these structures is going to go in these tanks. We are going to have concrete tanks, quite big ones, which are going to be the floor for our pergola outside the structures. And then water harvesting for the rainwater. It's going to be 125,000 liters water tanks, like 21,000 liters, 8 tanks, like that. And then we are going to produce fish and crayfish for our consumption, but is enough space also to produce fish to sell. So a part of the food for these fish will be the azzola, will be the duckweed and the plants that we are going to grow on top. Some of the fish that we already grow is the gambusia. I don't know in English. Is a fish from Florida, which is very tolerant to hot water. So high temperature water, high pollution, and high salinity. So they grow very fast. They're very small. They grow very fast. So you can harvest them and give them to the fish. So yeah, I go on with the presentation. This was the biggest piece of land, known terrace of the farm when we arrived. Here we set up the keyline system. You see the flags. For those one who don't know, the keyline system is basically a geographical and topographic system that allows to is a display that allows to work on this line or to plant on these lines that will naturally invert the natural behavior of rainwater that normally wants to go. This is the ridge, and that one is the ridge, and this is the valley. So water normally naturally will go from there to here and from here to there. The keyline pattern, it creates an inversion of the behavior of the water. So you create lines that force the water to grow from the valley towards the ridges. Now is optical. You don't really understand from here, but basically when you see raining a lot now, and you will see later the tree systems, the water flows on the surface, going from the wettest and most erodible spots to the driest and the least erodible places. So basically is a sort of optimization and doesn't come the word, a system that allows to homogenize the moisture levels in the whole landscape in the same way. So how we started our, now I talk a little bit about agroforestry systems, orchard systems, and regenerative agroforestry systems. Please, Tobias, can you tell me if you understand what I'm saying, if you can hear my voice well?
Yes, it's perfect. Like we understand, or I understand everything, and I translate all the Gambusia and everything to German in the chat, so it's working good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So we started from here. We set up the flags, so the keyline pattern, which they are basically starting from a contour line, and you check all the contour lines in the landscape. You decodify the best ones, and then from those ones, in our case, what we did, we cut the grass, and then we cut the hay. It was May, actually. The hay was very tall. And then this is a hay rake. Now you'll start to see the video. Do you see the video?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. And what we did, now you'll see, was going very slow in order to follow the flags that we placed on the key lines. So in this way, we collected all the hay that we cutted on the key lines. Okay, by collecting the hay, what we did is it has been to create this sort of herbicide effect. We could cut and collected hay during 9 months, so we had this beautiful layer of mulch, about 80 centimeter wide beds, yeah, and what happened is that the roots of the grass that was laying under the mulch started to decompose, and we have sandy soil, so the roots, they get quite deep. Meanwhile, the roots were decomposing, all the mulch started to decompose too, attracted earthworms, attracted decomposing mushrooms, fungi, attracted all sorts of insects that started to work on this huge amount of organic matter, on these channels created by the roots decomposing. Then what we did, we just worked, we have a yeoman's plow, which is a sort of reaper, subsoiler, which really cuts the soil and decompacts it in the deeper horizons. So we managed, because of these months of roots decompositions, after a few months, we managed to reap a single line with one single yeoman's shank to about 65 centimeters deep. So we created this beautiful soil. The soil wasn't tilled, wasn't inverted with the plow. We kept his original structure, the structure of the pores created by the fungi, by bacteria, by decomposing organic matter, decomposing roots. So we had really an amazing soil. Then you see here is just like a surgery, just a cut in the soil. What you see here is not soil, is decomposed mulch. Yeah. So I show you then with this video. Do you hear the music?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I stop the music. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So basically, what you can see on the right, there are the key lines. We took 9 months of time in order to create these beautiful key lines. We worked them in the middle, and you see myself in both of the videos where you can see how hard is the soil where we haven't been preparing it that way I was telling you before, and how deep and soft and black is under the mulch. Yeah. So this was very easy then to dig big holes for the trees. At the same time, what I like is sorry, I have to attach. I realized that the electricity, the power is not attached to the computer. Just a second, sorry for the inconvenience. Okay. All good? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Yes,
Okay,
so good.
Perfect. So these are the key lines. These are the holes that we were digging. What I like about working with lines is that, of course, is like creating a forest soil ecosystem on one line. So all the earthworms, all the mycorrhizal fungi, all the saprophytic fungi, all the decomposer critters, insects, and so on, and all the roots of the trees, they will not they will be able to grow along these very long fertile lines, where there has been an accumulation of organic matter, where there's been an accumulation of an increased amount of beneficial microbial activity. So of course we are digging the hole of the tree, but then the trees, I was checking in the first year, the roots of the trees, they never went into the pasture, because there is a little bit of competition between the grassland world, and the tree world. But here there was no competition, so the trees, they could grow like very long. The first year they developed like hell, beautiful, deep, and long. The nursery guy that came to visit us, the one that sold us many of the plants, he came after 1 year, and he said he never seen such an amazing growth on his trees in anywhere in many years of selling the trees. So it was very, very good. This is what we did actually in the hazelnuts. No, sorry, in the walnut grove, in the walnut orchard, a similar preparation. But when we finished to plant the orchard, we have been sowing a vetch and tillage radish cover crop on the key line, and then we cut the hay in between the lines, and with the hay rake we covered the seeds. And then what happened? The cover crop filled all the soil where the mulch was, and then we filled the soil with roots. So we kept the structure, because the problem of the walnut is that in the first year it grows very slowly, very, very slowly. And then the roots, they don't manage to colonize the whole lines. So it means that if nothing is growing, the soil compact itself, it becomes more and more compact, and it will be more difficult for the walnuts to grow through. So with a cover crop like that, we managed to keep the structure of the soil. Then when it was tall enough, we crimp it down, we flatten it down, and then we cut the hay and put the hay back on top of the green mulch in order to kill it. And so here in these lines we reached an organic matter of 9%, where the local organic matter normally goes from 2 to 3.5. Okay, so the first year we grew, in order to substitute the weeds growing through the mulch. This is back to the fruit trees line. Here you see a young apricot in his really first 2-3 months of growth, and we grew annual selected weeds, which are the vegetables. Yeah, so we substituted the need of the soil of colonizing where there is no green with vegetables. Yeah, so the roots of the vegetables allow the structure to keep very well porous, very well structured. And the fruit trees is not like the grass, which is perennial, has got very thick and very competitive roots. The fruit trees and the vegetables, they grow very well together in the first years. This is a few months later. We experimented one vegetable per species of trees. Here you see the young peaches coming out from a potato crop, and then cutting the hay, and again with the hay rake. In the case of the potato, we were actually healing the potatoes instead of with the soil, with the hay. So we had a very good harvest. We didn't have to disturb the soil. We didn't have to disturb the peaches roots, the very young ones. Yeah. Here we try with the corn, and actually corn is the master of the vegetables. Let's call it like this, because it was a sweet corn. The roots of this beautiful C4 grass-like plant, they produce a huge amount of hormones, growth hormones, and really the peaches that grew in between the corn, they were the ones that they grew like the best crop in the whole orchard. Plus, when the corn grew, it protected the young peaches from the very strong sun in July and August. I mean, we get 42 degrees easily during the summertime. So for fruit trees, which are they should be growing normally in the edges of the forest, actually we had this beautiful protection. Can you tell me how much time is left for the presentation? Because I'm going too slowly.
We have about half an hour.
Okay, perfect. So maybe I go a little bit faster now. Now you see again the trees and the potatoes, and this is the system. When was this? This was this last springtime. So now you see we have the trees that we planted 4 years ago. Lots of production from the second year. Look, from the second year, from the peaches, we had some trees producing 30 kilos of peaches. The second year, yeah, we used like medium vigor rootstocks. So we pruned them, we trained them. We didn't really follow as we should have done the orchard. We don't use copper. We don't use pyrethrum as a choice, because we would not see the symptoms of the diseases that we want to see in order to choose the best crops. And we don't want to use copper because, of course, it's not good for the soil. There is some big problems when we are talking about geopolitical issue connected to copper extraction. And we don't want to use pyrethrum, which is a known specific insecticide, which is actually allowed in organic agriculture, but is worse than many chemical specific insecticides. So we choose that, and we lose a lot of production in some species, in some varieties. But this is the way we want to do it. We are getting so many information, so much experience by pushing the limits that I can't go back and do differently. Of course, you also see some ugly trees sometimes, but they are the ones that we'll cut down and so on. So the system right now here, I didn't find the right picture. Maybe later it comes. Anyway, we have fruit trees on the line. This is the key line I showed you before. In between the fruit trees, we have currants, we have gooseberries, we have aronias, we have Siberian tree shrubs. They are the shrub layer, the berry layer, which can grow under the fruit trees. In between the fruit trees line, we have vegetables or pasture. Yeah, the pasture is managed by animals, by grazing animals. The vegetables that are very intensive and growing very beautifully. Now you see from another perspective the vegetables, the tree lines, the other tree lines. And this is a picture from 2 years ago. In between, now you see here, this is Josta berries. In between the fruit trees, so basically here, we planted Paulonia trees. Now these Paulonia trees, they are like 6-7 meters tall, and they are producing the protection. They will produce, of course. Now they are just very tall. Well, you can see here. Here it was actually around, I would say around June, July, something like that. Now they are 6 meters tall because they grew 6 meters from the soil level to 6-7 meters from May to September. So it's a very powerful C4, the only C4 tree we can use in our climate. Very fast growing. You see these leaves which are full of holes. These are we had 3 hail events, and this is why we are growing Paulonia. Paulonia is gonna grow on top of the orchard, and then we're gonna pollard it, and then to grow every year 1-year-old secondary branches which are going to protect the whole orchard from hail, from excess heat, and producing also biomass that can be shredded and used as a fertilizer and as a mulch. These are vegetables lines before transplant, but later we'll speak about vegetables. Now we have then the bush layer, the Paulonia level. On the left side of some tree lines, we planted spaced 1 meter apart willows, mulberries. We planted elderberry trees, which are going to keep, we are going to keep like bushes. We are going to coppice them very often in order to have biomass, but also on that side, an integration for the herbivores, for the sheep, for the donkeys, as a fodder, as a tree fodder, as a shrub fodder. Then here we go to another system. This is how we do the diamond shape. I don't know if you know, the diamond shape is the most efficient, geometrically efficient pattern in order to put the highest amount of plants in a defined area. Is basically the hexagon of the bees, and every angle, every, how you call it, vertex, I think you call it, at every vertex of the hexagon, you plant a plant. Basically, it's very simple. You, in this case, is the plantation of our hazelnut orchard, which we grow on slopes. Slopes for us are a very big problem because they are very slopey and difficult to manage, and we can't manage it with the machinery. So we decided to grow hazelnuts and the grass managed by the sheep. So when the hazelnut they fell on the ground, then we go with a electric or a powered air blower, and then we blow all the hazelnuts at the bottom of the slope, and then we harvest them. We haven't started yet to harvest them. Basically, you take a rope in order to do this diamond shape. You make knots at every 4 meters in our case, and then you just move one. You sign with a flag or a stick where you want to plant the plant, and then you take the vertex and you stretch it to another point. In this way, you produce. There are like triangles with all the basically 4 meters. How do you call this? Bases, yeah. and then the result is I don't know if you can see it, but for example, this is the middle of the hexagon, and this is one side, the other 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 side, and the other side. Yeah. So this is the slope, and we manage it as I told you with sheep. In this case, with sheep is very tricky, because you have to look at them, because when they finish to eat the grass, they start to eat the hazels. So you have to move them very fast. Is a new way of is an old new way of managing animals. It's more like a shepherd style, where you stay with your animal. You go and check for them very often. This in return gives an incredible increase in pasture quality, because they move very fast, they eat everything that they find, and then all the insects that like the dung beetles, the earthworms, all the insects that eat the dung and take it to the ground, they increase dramatically month by month the fertility of the pasture, which changes in species. They become, the species of the pasture, they become more and more edible, more and more digestible, more and more protein rich. So the animal actually, they increase the quality of the pasture. Yeah. So the pasture system, we have many different ones, but I go on, because otherwise I just talk about those systems. Fertility wise, we produce our own compost. 19% is farm produce wood chips with the flame mower harvester, and then we add around 10% of dung, or the solid byproduct of biogas production from one farm that I consult, so we know the quality of the material. We take around 1 year to produce a very high, high carbon to nitrogen ratio compost. So it's a very fungal based decomposition, low temperature and long decomposition. So we get this very good high quality with a high CEC capacity of the compost. We add during the decomposition process, actually at the beginning, when the temperature are higher and the activity of the microorganism is very strong, we add rock dust. We use mainly volcanic rock dust, is pumice, because it has got low calcium and low magnesium, which we have in high amounts in our soils, and rich in potassium, which we have very little amount in our soils, and very rich in microelements, plus high porosity and a high capacity of retaining water. So we increase via the compost and the rock dust in the compost the capacity of our sandy soil to keep nutrients and to keep water, which naturally doesn't is not like that. Okay. Then we produce biofertilizers with all sorts of ingredients, with all sorts of tradition, South American, Korean, North, like Hellenic style. But we are getting to a more simplified system where we have these water tanks where we put, as I was telling you before, dynamic accumulators, plants. It can be comfrey, it can be clover, it can be alfalfa, it can be dock, it can be weeds, it can be all the leftovers from the vegetable crops or fruits. We chuck them in water, we add some compost, some microorganisms that we produce in the farm, and then we let it decomposing like that. And now we are, this is fish emulsion, fish hydrolyzed. We make it with milk whey, the rest from fisheries, and then we let it, this is a mixing system. Every 15-20 minutes it mixes the fish emulsion, and from this we can get a very high nutritious fertilizer that we are spraying on the trees mainly. when the fruits are not there. This is, for example, it's not going in the video. Anyway, this is a way we activate the microorganism with pumps going through flow forms. In this case, it's not our farm, but we use similar systems. Yeah, so we produce farm local microorganisms, and then when we need them, either for animals or for our vegetables or fruit trees or so on, we activate. We oxygenate the water. We add a source of sugars and so on. Now, what we do actually is mainly we produce biofertilizers by we shred. We make wood chips with wet wood at the end of the winter when there is lots of sap. We chuck the wood chips in water. We add water. We pasteurize, sort of pasteurization. The wood chips in anaerobic conditions, they get sort of sterilized. Then we remove the wood chips that they release all the saps. And then the wood chips, they're used to produce edible mushrooms. And the liquid, which is extremely rich in glucose, in amino acids, and in vitamins and in hormones, actually that the plants normally sends to the roots to feed the microbial the communities that support in raw the plant. What happened in this liquid start beautiful, amazing, natural fermentation, mainly by lactobacteria, which are present in the sap, which are present in the air, and they produce this amazing base of biofertilizers where we add rock dust, we had seaweeds, we had whatever we need to add, like also sea salt, and the lactobacteria, they increase the complexity of the produce by solubilizing, for example, the minerals of the rock dust that the plant would not be able to absorb without the activity of the microorganism. The microorganisms, they cook basically the rock dust for the plant in order to be able to absorb the nutrients in there. So yeah, we use actually many different types of approaches to plant nutrition. This is crustacea fermentation, where we get chitin and chitosan, by fermenting first in very low pH media, and then in very high alkaline media. We do a lot of things, but I will not stop there. Maybe if you have questions later, I can answer. We produce biochar, which allow us to increase the quality of our sands and to be able to have more water retention, more nutrient retention, a good presence of microorganisms all the time, because the biochar is a very good sponge and a house for all of those beautiful microorganisms. Then now we speak about vegetables, if is left any time, Tobias.
Yes, it's time. You have 25 minutes, and then we have another 30 minutes for Q&A, so that's fine. Okay. Go for it.
This is a picture at the beginning of our adventure. Actually, you see already the key lines, but it was I think around 9 months after we arrived to this place. In those 9 months we set up the first greenhouse. Is a 9 meter by 45 meter greenhouse. Then we built 2 more tunnels, and here you see the first gardens. It is a slope from here to here. We have 4 meters drop, so they are not flat. And because of this, we haven't done keyline here, mainly because we want to stay more rational with vegetable production, so straight lines is easier. Here we didn't start to produce yet vegetables. Actually, yes, during summer we had sweet potatoes, and maybe here there was already garlic, but it was just the beginning. You see these dry lines. is a dry grass. This is vetiver and comfrey lines. They are alternated. You see, this is vetiver at the second year. Yeah, you don't see the comfrey, but this is the comfrey. This is the at the first year. Yeah, so you see one vetiver plant, one comfrey, one vetiver, one comfrey. I go back here. Basically, this now the vetiver in winter it becomes yellow. The vetiver has got roots which reaches more than 6 meters when it can. Very fine. They're like walls of roots. It's like nearly there is no soil in between, full of roots. The comfrey reaches 3-4 meters deep when it can in like loose soil with very fat roots. So we created these walls, retaining walls, which create by the natural erosion. They stop the erosion, and actually after 4 years from the top to the bottom of this line, we already have 35 centimeter drop, which means really that this work is working. We will increase the amount, the frequency of the vetiver in order to reach in maybe 10-15 years flat land, flat terraces, yeah, like gradons, like steps made by biomass, made by these plants that stop the erosion of the soil. And the roots, they create these beautiful, very deep pumps, which are taking all the nutrients that go because of nutrient leaching, because of irrigation, because of rain, and the leaching would go with gravity, but all the nutrients are stopped by these very deep roots and pumped up and transformed in biomass. As you can see, is a lot of biomass. Yeah, the comfrey is cut around 4 to 6 times a year, and we take it, we cut it, and we take it with the tractor to the water tanks where we produce the fertilizer that then is diluted into irrigation water, which is then we have irrigation lines here, rainwater irrigation, and then we irrigate and fertirrigate with those lines. So basically the comfrey takes what is at the bottom where the vegetables they can't access, and we take it back to the higher places of the farm, and with gravity fed irrigation we give back to the topsoil those nutrients that the vegetables didn't manage to absorb in the previous seasons or in the previous months. And then this was last summer. What we have now on the vetiver lines and comfrey lines, now here we were cutting the vetiver and the comfrey. We have also paulownias growing at every 3 meters by 7 meter 50. Yeah, so 3 meters, 7 meter 50. Now these trees, they are around 5 to 7 meters tall, and they will do the same thing that they will do in the orchard. So it's for protection. Vegetables, especially in Italy, during summertime, but from May on, they need shade. There's too much sun. They suffer. They burn. The sun burn the fruits. It's like in very strong, very hot and very clear days, it can be very challenging. We want to create a wetter, more moisture, a more protected environment. The way we plant vegetables, let's say 80% of the space is mulched, and most of the time we do no-till vegetable production, and maybe. Okay, sorry. So this would be a field after few weeks after transplant. What we do, we go and harvest with this is the flail mower harvester. We harvest the pasture of our farm. We collect it this way, and then and then we place it. Maybe I go a little bit on so you understand, and then we go back. Sorry, yeah. What we do, for example, in this case, we have a crotolaria sun hemp cover crop. We flail mow it. We put a little bit of compost on it. We use a broad fork if it's necessary, but then we don't. This is not tilled soil. This is compost on top of the flail mowed. You see here the flail mower on the flail mowed cover crop. So we have the roots of the cover crop. The sun hemp has got very deep tap roots, very woody, which they destroy the hard pan in the deeper horizons, and then they slowly decompose. It's also nitrogen fixer, so very beautiful crop in this case. This is just an example. We do all sorts of approaches. Then in this case, we use paper mulch, and on top of it, the mulch I was telling you before, we harvest from the pasture. Then the crops are transplanted with a diamond-shaped pattern in order to have the highest coverage of the soil, and you see it's just like a sea of vegetables. We don't weed. We use very little amount of water, and we get from analysis we did, we got 1% increase in organic matter in our climate is nearly impossible, because the oxidation rates, the temperatures are very, very high, and so it's very difficult to increase the organic matter so fast. So we started from 3.5% organic matter where we are producing vegetables, which for sandy soil is the minimum. Like for clay soil, the minimum you should have is 1%. With sand is 3.5, and we reached now 7% in some spot, maybe even more. It's just like in the woodland, we will get 7 to 10% organic matter. So going a little bit faster, someone would say, but there are no path. Yeah, you see that the path is actually the distance in between the crops. Also here you can see it, yeah? And then we just walk on the soil because it gets too soft and we want to compact it. As an animal would compact the pasture that becomes too soft, too organic. Yeah, no problem. I enter, we harvest broccoli, we harvest cabbages, we harvest anything with, I don't know how you call this, the basket, but it's the la gerla. So like a Japanese small scythe in one hand, the other hand takes the produce and we put it back to the gerla and then back to the plastic boxes. Then this is the system, before, after, yeah? You see the diamond shape here is an hexagon, tuck, 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 and at the center, another plant. Yeah. Then what we do when our crops are finished, this is at the end of the winter, maybe is February, something like that. We flail mow it. Notice, I go back to the video. Notice the wheels of the machine, they are driving on the path. Yeah, so we never compact with machines the bed. I don't care about heavy compaction. I care about vibrations of the machines, that they destroy all the soil aggregates worse than any other thing. Yeah, so after that, this is before and after, before and after. Yeah. You see the flame mower there. What we do here, it depends. Maybe before passing the flame mower, we sow a cover crop, and with the flame mower, it mixes a bit in the soil and a bit in the organic matter, and then we grow a cover crop. Otherwise, we put another layer of mulch, or sometimes we even transplant directly to this mulch. You see there is mulch from the previous mulching, and also lots of biomass. Yeah. Otherwise, we add a little bit more hay, or now we are changing the system from hay, mulch to wood chips. That's because we have a high activity of microorganisms, and those microorganisms, they eat too fast the hay, and then the weeds grow through. And now we are going we started already from this year, some spots. We are using wood chips because they take longer, they create better organic matter, and they're just, we take the wood from the nearby woodland or from gardeners that take the material, the prunings from to our farm, or in the system we are putting lots of biomass producing trees. Then we will have an amazing soil. In few years, really, we will not need anymore to add compost, actually maybe in 1 or 2 years. And sometimes we use broad forks. This I show you already. This is what we use when we want to transplant with diamond shape, like is a self-peeled marker. This is the diamond shape in the greenhouse. Yeah, I go a bit faster. You see, this is all mulched, and for us it's very important. This is our roller walk-behind tractor. Again, look at the wheels. They drive just on the path, and this is a roller crimper that we build out of a gas bottle. And maybe I show you again the video. You see that we have a vetch and barley and field pea cover crop. We crimp it down. Yeah, you see it? And then we transplant directly into it. This is another system. Okay, I go on, but sometimes we use clover system under the for example, the cabbages or under other crops, under the zucchinis. Sometimes we have to cultivate like here without. Oh, sorry. Can you see it again?
Yes, you're back. You're on your Instagram page right now.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Maybe the presentation closed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Let's see. Oh, the presentation closed. I don't know why. Sorry, just wait.
It's all good.
Okay. I don't really know what happened. What do you see now?
We see you scrolling down, so we see the presentation again, and yeah, it's all good.
I nearly finished, huh?
Yeah, go for it. So you have 5 to 10 minutes. Just
Okay.
don't feel in a hurry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me if you can see the presentation.
Yes.
Okay. So this was when we started in the greenhouse. You see the soil is a miserable soil because we had to build the terrace with the excavators and machineries, and this is not topsoil anymore. So terrible. We started with all the compost, earthworm compost, and then with cover crop and microorganisms and so on. And then this is the first time we prepare it. This is the first cover crop. We flail mowed the cover crop. Again, this is an example. We added compost, we added rock dust, we added from the top, we have irrigation. We sprayed fermented milk whey in order to inoculate lactobacteria, and then covered with a tarp. It just become a huge sauerkraut tank, and in 3 days you have this beautiful fermentation going on, quite smelly, but you understand that this is beautiful, where you have lactic acid, you have hydrogen peroxide, so the lactobacteria, they clear out pathogens and so on. And then this is our greenhouse. So we produce most of the time in our fields from 1/3 to double the amount of food per square meter if compared to the most efficient systems, conventional systems. So we are very happy about that. You see, we grow vertical. We drop our crops down. Later you will see. Here, the first year there were tarps because there were those tarps in the farm, but then we just tried half greenhouse with tarps, half with mulch, and then the tarps we just throw them away. We are not using plastic apart from these silage tarps, which are from a French company. Is the only model that is made with 85% recycled polyethylene. So I would not buy plastic. Like the only plastic we use is recyclable polyethylene. Yep. So, I mean, you see the amount of production of these greenhouses. We get this is a flower branch, okay? We get flower branch long as sometimes like 70, 80 centimeters. And really, we have to prune the fruits because otherwise there would be too many. We do melons, vertical melons, which produce double the amount. This for us is a very good cash crop. And the nice thing is that you don't have to check for melons. When they are ready, they drop on the ground and you find them on the path. So they are ready, they're sweet, they're beautiful, and people love them because normally at the supermarket you find those ones that they're harvested when they are not ready and they are expensive and shitty. We use polyculture and companion planting, not really for allopathic or biochemical point of view, but mainly for space efficiency. So for example, here we have lettuces on a diamond shaped pattern in between the tomatoes growing. On the other bed, we have sugar peas and basil on one side, and for example, celery on the other side growing on the line. So we keep always having lots of roots in the soil. For us, it's extremely important to have roots in the soil, just like in a natural system. For me, it's more important to have roots than mulch, than the soil covered with dead material. Yeah, when we can, we also do that. You see here again tomatoes with basil, melons with basil. Yeah, here we have peppers with sweet potatoes growing in between and everywhere. And here we have tomatoes. You see that the fruits are on the ground because we just drop them in order to be able to produce them for 6-7 months from March on. Actually, more than 6-7 months. Here, for example, nematode control. Nematodes are the biggest problem for those ones that do no-till, at least in Italy, at least, and also in the greenhouses. This year we contained perfectly the nematode population by treating the roots of the sensitive plants with onion and garlic extract when the plants are small, and then we planted tagetes, which is I think French marigold, in between every plant, and we didn't have any problem where we had the last years, like on cucumbers and so on, very, very big problem. So here you see a leaf of sweet potatoes growing very densely, French marigold and peppers, vertical peppers, which also they grow 2-3 meters tall. Yeah, we prune them. You see here again sweet potatoes and the flowers of the marigold, and the peppers. This is it has to be. I don't care to walk in the Amazon forest when I go in my greenhouse. I want to have a really high amount of leaves. I want that every single photon of light coming from the sun that is stolen by the plants. I want to reach a very high darkness at the bottom, which means that the plants, they did their job. They stole all the sun that they could use. Yep. So I think I'm nearly finished. I told you we produce CSA. We have veggie box and fruit scheme. This is, for example, the harvest of one day. Maybe this was in September, something like that. Yeah, it was September. So in the box, our customers, they get quite a lot of diversity the whole year round. We can produce 365 days a year, but we normally in February we stop for a couple of months. I mean, we stop the veggie boxes in the CSA, but we keep on selling to the restaurants. In maybe 1 or 2 years, we will manage to, with a better rotation and the farm structure and so on, we'll be able to produce the whole year around veggie boxes. We harvest and deliver 3 times a week. I didn't tell you before, now we join a new system which is called Alveare DCC. Is a system where we basically receive orders and we make the boxes and then we deliver them in one place where many other farmers also come to deliver meat and cheese and other produce. And so we have different channels, and during the COVID, you know what happened in Italy, I mean, also in Germany, but in Italy, especially in Lombardia, in our region where everything started in Europe, COVID was very, very strong thing. And then the restaurants, they all closed. Now they're still closed. And so if we had just as customers, restaurants, we would have had big problems. But we are trying to diversify a lot. We have a small market at the top of the farm road. We place their bags with vegetables and fruits, and people, there is a box, they pay there. So that's also another selling system. We have chickens. Now we will increase the number, because in the past farm we had 1,500 broilers per year and 250 egg layers. And now we will increase the chickens. They follow the herbivores, so they finish what the herbivores they didn't eat, and they spread the dung, so it's decomposing faster, and the animals they can go, the herbivores, they can go on the same pasture sooner, and not finding pathogens and the parasites and so on. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into details with animals. I told you before, we do not really rotational grazing, but it's like a holistic management style. For those of you who knows Jaime Lizondo Brown, we like to follow more his approach, which is super hyper intensive, not yet because we are increasing the numbers of animals, hyper intensive, non-selective grazing, where the animals, they eat everything, they have to eat everything that is on the ground. So is a very strong impact, but with very strong amazing results when the animals then they are moved and the grass grows back. So you see here the grasses. When we started with chickens, we didn't have the animals, and through the feed of the chickens, what happens is that they increase dramatically the quality of the pasture. So you see the color of the pasture the first year after the chickens passed, and after 3 weeks, you see the color, are starting to come out new species just after the first pass. Now we have around between 30 to 50 species in our pastures, and it's just the beginning. We produce mushrooms. We produce them in air pot. I don't know if you know them. Normally they used to grow trees, but we grow with our wood chips. We hang them on the roof of the cellar, and yeah, we are experimenting. This system is quite interesting. There were many other things to speak about, but 70 meters is not a lot. Normally when we do farm tours, we do like 3-4 hours tours. I hope I managed to explain and to give a sense of the operation, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. Again, I apologize for my English.
Don't worry, Matteo. It was very good. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to watch you going through your slides, speaking with big enthusiasm, and just being so natural, authentic. It was quite nice, and we have a chat full of questions. So I can start right there. And first of all, I want to say it's just, I don't know, it's amazing how much you do on the farm. And there are a lot of questions of like, and maybe I start with that. How many people are engaged on the farm? Are you doing everything on the farm with Paula, with your partner, or do you work with interns? Do you work with employees, or like what's the situation there?
So basically, is me and Paula from the beginning. But again, we had the kids. So Paula was twice in 5 years, twice pregnant and breastfeeding still now. So she basically is 5 years that she's either pregnant or breastfeeding. So she's not being able to be in the field as much as I did. So there is Jessica, she came as a woofer at the beginning, but then she stayed. So she's our colleague. So we are fixed people, 3 people, and then we have interns, and we reach interns, volunteers. We reach 7 people, 7, 8 people during summertime in some periods.
Okay.
There is still the farm is very chaotic. There is a lot to do. We don't have we didn't have the farm barn, so you can imagine the tractor under the rain, always the flame mower under the rain. Now we're starting to build some barns, and everything will change, and we will be able also to increase dramatically the income of the farm. Because we'll make also sort of a farm restaurant, and we will be able to transform our surplus into valuable produce. In the presentation, I didn't talk about the olives, but the olives, they are a very important part of the economics and also of the ecosystem of the farm. Actually, the oil is the most expensive oil in Italy, in this area, because we are producing is the last latitude wise. We are the last producers in Italy, so it's quite expensive, and we can gain quite a lot of money. Anyway, yeah. So around now we are in 5 people, for example.
Okay. So, and your main season would be starting in March until October, or full year round?
Full year round.
Full year
now,
round.
now look, now we have the vegetables, the animals, plus the olive harvest. So we are harvesting tons of olives, and we are taking every 2 days. We are taking them to the olive press. It's huge work. It's a huge work, which adds upon what is already. Of course, we don't transplant much. We should have transplanted in the greenhouse, sown already winter crops, but we didn't have the time yet.
Thank you. And maybe just also for context, like how many do you get deep frosts in the winter? So
I don't know what you mean for deep frosts. Now it's 1 week that we're getting everything white. There are no more frosts, and as in the past, it can reach -7. Yeah.
Okay.
So in the past, it would be easily -10, and there's snow the whole year round. There's snow the whole winter. Now maximum, let's say an average -2, -3, but during the day, also during winter, we get 20. We can get 18, 20 degrees. You can.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, when I harvest olives, I'm with the t-shirt.
Okay. That's nice. We have, looking outside the window here, we have frosts and like white trees covered in ice. So yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. I didn't speak about pathogens and voles, and we have lots of pathogens. We are just like a subtropical, tropical climate where everything goes fast in summer.
Yeah.
And if the frost doesn't kill what it shouldn't be there during summer, big problem.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So maybe just gathering a few questions about the key line system. So there was a question about what's the distance between the tree lines. Maybe just the order in, like, so you're doing first the ribs with the plow and then you're putting hay on top of it, or are you first putting the hay and then you let it decompose? And there was a question if you're irrigating the tree lines in the agroforestry system.
Okay. So the fruit tree lines in the main orchard, because then we have many ones. I tell you about the one that you've seen the pictures, is 5 meters between tree lines for pears, plums, and apricots. Is 4 meters between the apple trees lines. Is 4 meters between the peaches, and 3 meters in the table grape.
Okay.
And we have one drip irrigation per tree line, just for emergencies, or for delivering fertilizer, like fertirrigation.
Okay.
But normally, no, we don't water the trees. Maybe during emergency, like 40 degrees, 35 degrees, yeah, we give some water just to the peaches, they need lots of water in the fruit, and in order to have good fruits. And but I think 90% less than what a normal orchard would use.
Yeah, sure.
And then the other question was
the order of the keyline ripping.
Yeah. So first is we accumulate the mulch in order to allow the roots of the plants to decompose, and then the soil becomes already softer. And then we go with the ripper. I don't know if you've seen the picture before. We have a disc in front of the subsoiler in order to cut the mulch. Otherwise, the mulch would collect on the ripper. So first mulch, after a few months or after a few weeks, the subsoiler.
Are you using allen varieties of tomatoes or hybrids? So what's your approach in the market garden? Do you use just heritage seeds or hybrids as well?
Both. For example, in the main greenhouse, we push for high production, and so is hybrid varieties. Well, commercial varieties. For example, the Cuore di Bue is even if it's commercial variety, it's not a hybrid, but otherwise mostly hybrid. 3-4 varieties, like actually 3 varieties, big ones like Cuore di Bue, and then cherries, and then strawberry tomato. Very sweet and nice. And outside this year we had 25 heritage varieties of tomatoes, so old varieties, mainly all small, because all colorful. Then we put all of them in the same box.
Okay, nice. There was another question: if you have any problems with bringing in wheat seeds with the hay, like when you're mulching.
I want wheat seeds.
Okay.
Because meanwhile, what happens is that they will not start straight away to grow. They will start when the crop will be already growing and filling the spaces. So I want to have weeds, because the weeds that will grow on that spot with that organic matter will be the most appropriate choice for the soil in order to regenerate it. Cover crop are rubbish. Cover crop, we think they are good, but actually it is what we think is good for the soil. Weeds, I find really the soil and the I didn't show you, but 2 years in the field, in one of the field with the mulched and the diamond shape pattern, before putting the mulch, we had an amaranth, so a pigweed that we have been sowing. So I went with the flail mower in a field full of amaranth with seeds. I harvested. I went in the field where then we were going to grow vegetables, and I have been sowing weeds. We grew an amaranth that was 160, completely full. The soil would have grown that amaranth, because I know what happened. It needs that, So we grew it, we flail mow it, we cover it with mulch, we transplant it, and no plants of amaranth grew.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, I don't know what is the word in English, but we have to understand what really needs the soil, not what we need.
Yeah. Okay.
And weeds are beautiful. They are telling you, if you study a little bit about weeds as bioindicators, you know that maybe you are keeping on buying bullshit compost, which is locking some nutrients because of an excess nitrogen, and you don't know why there is porcelain or pigweed or any other weeds. I don't know what is growing in Germany, but like weeds is very important to let the weeds manifest. We have to understand how.
Yeah, thank you. It's I guess a good approach to not see them as an enemy and to use them and work with them. And still a question about the mulch. There's a question if you have problems with voles, eating the tree roots or in the vegetable roots. Do you have any strategy for that? How you manage them, or you just let them be?
So voles are the symptom of a too simple system. Small rotators from an ecological perspective of succession, voles and mice and rotators, they come to speed up. For example, there are brambles, they come and they sow the seeds of an apple, the seeds of an oak, in order to have from the brambles, from the blackberry patch, to grow a forest. If you have lots of mice, lots of voles, it means that your system is too poor from a functional biodiversity point of view. When we arrived, you would walk on voles galleries everywhere. So increase organic matter. Get a good dog. We have a dog, perfect one. We place silage tarps on the vegetable beds. We wait 2-3 weeks in the first years, and then 2-3 people, they remove very fast the tarp, and Chicho, which is the name of our dog, very fast, it kills maybe 10-15 mice and voles in 30 seconds. Yeah. So again, you have to use, I know it seems to be funny, it's also a little bit disgusting for some of you, but it's nature. Like predators are the most amazing solution that we should use. Like Jack Russells, like every farmer should have a Jack Russell and should train it. It goes in the caves under the ground and just gets anything. So now we don't have any more problems with voles. With the fruit trees, we don't mulch anymore because we are planting more and more plants. We substitute the mulch of the first year. The mulch is just for the first years. Mulch is good just for annuals. Otherwise, if you go in the forest when there is too much mulch, it means that the forest is getting older and is preparing the soil for the new seedlings to grow. Yeah. So yeah, this is the way I look at it.
Thank you for the answer. I guess that gives the term appropriate technology a whole new meaning. Working with your dog. Okay, so another question was, okay, do you have like any problems having couch grass? Do you know couch grass growing through your mulch systems, or?
No, I mean, again, couch grass is the symptom of a compact soil. So once you have roots in the soil, never mulch a tilled soil. Because a tilled soil, what happens, you till the soil and then the soil collapses on itself. If you have a lot of biochar, a lot of organic matter, it will be easier. Yeah, but the vegetables that you transplant, it will not be able to grow as deep as it should grow before then the soil collapses. Yeah, if you have a rain, is even worse. So roots, the key is roots. couch grass grows where the soil is compact, where the soil is burned by the sun, when the soil doesn't have a thick and dense pattern of transplanting. If you have couch grass with soft soil, you go there, you take it out, take it out the first year, no problem, rather than going with the tiller and multiplying it.
Okay, thank you. There was another question about your biofertilizers. So of how you're using the comfrey and alfalfa, when you're letting it ferment and then putting it into the drip irrigation, how you're doing that. And another question of when you talked about the sauerkraut in the greenhouse, what you used in order to bring the acid bacteria to.
So first question, how do you call them in Italian is macerati when you speak about leaf fertilizers. How do you call when you put it in water in English?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think for all the listeners, Pflanzenferment, so sowas wie Jauche. Yeah.
Yeah, like the one you everybody does with nettle, for example.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's Jauche for the German listeners.
So basically, we do the same thing as everybody's doing with the nettle, but we observe in the landscape all the plants that we think they're particular, or all the plants that show us that they are dynamic accumulators, which means they grow faster than the others. It means that they absorb more nutrients than the other. In fact, when the water smell of cow dung, it means that the concentration of nutrients is high as the sort of a collection by the cow of a lot of material transformed in a small cow dung. So we put them in water. You can go in the woodland, take some humus from the woodland and chuck it like in 1,000 liter, maybe one bucket, and then we mix it. Every time that I pass from there, I go there and mix it, in order to speed up the composition. And then we basically use around 10% in water, so quite a good amount. I want to push crops. So one day we will not be using any compost. The only solids that we will move, it will be mulch, and cover crop seeds. Otherwise, anything else moved by water, which is much more sustainable than moving compost. Making compost is so unsustainable. Everybody speaks about compost. It's like so unsustainable compost. It's like if every single conventional farmer would become crazy like all of us tomorrow, it would be a huge problem. It's like, where do we get all that compost? No.
Thank you.
The other question was
about the greenhouse, like what you used when you used the cover crop in order like to speed up the fermentation.
Is milk whey. We get milk whey from cheesery, from farms that make cheese. And the leftover of the cheese is this sort of milk, is the milk whey. And we let it ferment. We remove the top cheese that goes on the top for 2-3 weeks. And then I let it ferment on its own, and it gets to 2.9 pH. So very acidic, very high in lactobacteria. It's like if you cut yourself, you put your hands there and no problem with infections. You can wash your face and becomes just like so soft. And if you put it on the soil, the lactobacteria, as is happening in the sauerkraut, will eat the fiber, will eat the sugars, will eat what is in there. Not the fiber, sorry, the sugars and the easy digestible materials, and they speed up the pre-decomposition. So when you move the tarp, you still see some stuff, but it's pre-decomposed, and it created all the prebiotics in order to soil life, natural soil life, to start and thrive there.
A personal question from me on that side. Are you using some kind of biofertilization with your biochar as well? So do you charge it with kind of a liquid fertilizer as well?
Yeah, with comfrey or alfalfa or liquid manure. I mean, we have the Contiki kiln. Then we have a pipe under it, and we stop the combustion already with the fertilizer.
Okay, thank you. So there was one question of like 5 books that you would recommend that are inspiring for you regarding agriculture, soil health, agroecology, whatsoever. Do you have any favorites that come into your mind so far?
You know, when they ask you your best movie, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So very good books there. The 3 volumes of Gérard Ducerf. They're in French, but everybody can translate it very easily. It's the bioindicator. It's called. Wait a second. Maybe shall I send you a link?
Yeah, it would be nice.
If you are not already following the what he's doing, John Kempf, do it, because he just puts together so many good things. I mean, there is Marschner books. There are so many long and boring books, but anything. Also, children book, like the books, they have to activate something that is already in our brain, and via observation. I think I love books. I keep on buying books, but I look at pictures and I don't read them. I prefer to go out in the woods and in the pasture and look at things and observe. And then you know what books you have, and you go and check in the book just what you need. But maybe I can send you then a list of books, and then you can send it to all the participants.
Yeah, well, we have a few questions left. There was one like the BCS tractor that you're using. Is it 75 centimeters width or 80 centimeters? So how wide are your vegetable beds in the market garden?
Now they're wider. Now we have 90 centimeter wide.
90 centimeters. Okay. Thank you.
75, 80 to me is not enough, because planting with the diamond shape, it means to not be able to do it with the right sizes.
Yeah.
And
okay.
90, and I prefer to have a bigger surface, because the path is like stopping the beautiful processes that are going on in the bed. And having too many paths is just like having wounds. Open wounds is just like having, more weeds growing, more material to mulch, more time to weed. So path for me, our path, I don't know if you've seen it, is like 18 centimeter wide. 18.
Oh wow! Okay.
So you can't stay with two foot.
Yeah.
It's like Shaolin farming.
Nice. So I think you used 3 lines of, for example, cabbage on the 90 centimeters, for the diagonal spacing. Was that right? Yeah. Okay. And that's just in order to create the full, the full darkness on the ground, like you said it beautifully. There was another question about your chicken, the chicken systems. So do the chicken feed also on the leftovers on the planting beds? So do you integrate them in the market garden?
Yeah.
And are you concerned, so do you buy in grains for the chicken feed? So do you buy in chicken feed, and are you like, what's the system like? Do you, for the mobile coop, do you have problems with the slope, moving them, or?
We put them every now and then on the crops, but not very often, because we have a continuous cropping system, and I prefer that the chickens follow the animals rather than the vegetables. And we buy a commercial feed, organic. For us, it's just, I see it as a fertilizer. It's the only fertilizer that we buy from outside. So it is a organic commercial made by a cooperative of farmers quite close to here. Is possibly the most unsustainable thing that we have in our farm. And then the chicken tractor, we move it on the flattest parts. And then we have the chicken tractor and the nets. So the animals, they can move also on slopes.
Mm-hmm. And do you use hybrid chicken layers? So, or
we tried on these last 10 years, 8 years, we tried so many different breeds. I think the next ones will be Livornese, the white ones, and hybrids. They're skinnier, they're more productive.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we have a few questions left, and there was one: do you have problems with mildew in the greenhouse, as it is very dense planted?
On what? On zucchinis? On
yeah, on the tomatoes, on the cucumbers. Any problems with plant?
Mildew. Mildew is white. The white.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, when it gets, the air gets more moist, yes. But we have big windows, like along the greenhouse. We had 45 meters long windows on one side, the other, and we have big doors. So there is in the morning the air flow goes from the lake to the mountain, and in the night from the top of the mountain through the long windows of the greenhouse. So we use very little water. So in the greenhouse it's quite dry, and actually we use little water, but I also water as also when the tomatoes are producing, I water from the top. So the mildew, best thing you can do is water from the top to wash it away. Yeah, if you add some milk whey into the water, if you add fertilizers, and you water from the top, is just perfect. Of course, we do small sections of irrigations. Also on the tomatoes, everybody say, you're crazy. Yeah, I'm crazy. But plants, they want water from the top. For late blight and blight, the only thing is just to stay below 10 millimeters of water per irrigation. And in the greenhouse, we also have a drip irrigation. Yeah. So when I see there is too crowded, the water can't access everywhere, I stop from the top, and then I do drip lines. But as soon as I put the crops down, I lay the tomatoes down, I lay the cucumbers down from the top again, because we put nutrients in it.
Okay, thank you very much, Matteo. And maybe just one last question about your animals, since you didn't talk much about them. Like, how big is the sheep herd? Do you have? And I think you had some donkeys in the picture, some horses. Like, what kind of animals do you have, and how many of them?
So in row, I don't tell you the whole idea of the genetics, because we are doing something that in Italy nobody really does, but more typical in Germany and in the northern countries with the genetics of the animals. So we have different genetics of sheep. Now we have around 20 sheep, because we started this year, but we will have to reach around 40 sheep. So in row, what happens? The sheep enters the pasture. They eat the most protein and most digestible stuff. And they are together with the donkeys, but a single wire, a single string, wire divides the donkeys from the sheep. The sheep, they can access the donkeys, but the donkeys can't access the sheep. This is because the donkey have to clean all the most fibrous, less protein-rich pasture, because the idea is to clear perfectly the pasture. So first the sheep, they eat a little bit picky, and they like the very fresh and crunchy stuff. And then we move on the sheep, and we move the wire, and so the donkeys finish what the sheep didn't. And then after that, the chickens and the ducks and so on come. They open the dung, they eat what is left, they add a new dung, and also the fertilizer from the grains, and then we leave exploding nature as it should do. in nature. But I think we will get also ponies.
Okay.
Because it's a very good animal for is a lightweight animal, eating anything, dry, thorny, and so on, and yeah, together with the donkeys.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Matteo. It was a very, very great session with you, and I think we could go on. You could go on for so much longer, but yeah, I think we're coming to an end here, and I just want to repeat my gratefulness for you to participate in this program, to participate in our conference, to have you here talking, really bringing in the agroecology aspect in the whole market garden picture and fitting it into a diverse ecosystem, yeah, and the ecosystem that you've built, and with Paul, with your partners, and all the other people who put in their work on their farm. And yeah, it was an inspiring speech. I can talk for myself, but I'm sure the listeners and the viewers enjoyed it as well. And I want to tell you all the best. Have a great Sunday. Yeah, all the best to your partner, to your kids, and enjoy the rest of the day. Maybe it's a little bit warmer than here, so, and it looks like it's sunny behind you, so enjoy a few photons, capture a few yourself, and yeah, just have a great day, Matteo. Okay,
thank you very much for the organization, and hope to see you in Germany,
yeah,
the next year.
It would be great, and maybe I can visit you next year.
Is always you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Have a great day. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.